My name is Adi. I'm a technical marketing engineer for Cisco Securex. We launched Securex about a year ago. So I'm going to go through just a little high-level overview. Hopefully we'll keep it to just a minute or two because I want to focus on what's new, what Cisco has brought new to Cisco Live. And we will get to see some new features, some new integrations. We'll get into a little bit of technical detail as well. So let's just jump right in. So security operations have a lot of problems. One of those problems is there are a lot of vendors. A lot of customers have, on average, about 75 security tools. And those are not always just Cisco tools. They have many third-party tools. They have Cisco tools. And those tools often don't work well together. And why would they, right? They're developed by a separate engineering team, by separate companies. How would they be integrated? Well, that is where Cisco started our integrations initiative. We wanted to build an open and extensible platform that can integrate with Cisco products as well as third-party products. So we have a saying in Cisco, if REST, then yes. So if you got a REST API, doesn't matter what box it is, where it came from, we can integrate with it. Thousands of alerts. So a lot of customers are just inundated and flooded with alerts. They're getting alerts from Firewall, from network analytics, from endpoint, from email security. And it's hard to keep up with all these alerts. And it's hard to figure out which alerts actually matter. And then there's also the problem of a staff shortage. A lot of cybersecurity companies and security operations center that are starting up, they have a hard time finding staff. Then they have a hard time training that staff. So there's a lot of problems with security operations, and Securex can help solve a lot of these problems. Yeah, these are all the alerts you're going to see. You're looking at all your 23 tabs open on your laptop. I don't know about you guys. I probably have 50 tabs open right now, and that's what it looks like, right? It fatigues you. You're looking at everywhere, and you don't really know what's actually important. So let's talk a little bit about Securex. Just a quick overview, Securex has 3 value pillars. So as we built Securex, when we launched Securex, as we continuously improve Securex, these are the 3 value pillars that we always have in mind: simplicity, visibility, and efficiency. And then down below across the bottom, you'll see the features of Securex, and we're going to focus mainly on threat response. That's the core of our platform. It's an API aggregator, so that's how we aggregate data from multiple sources, correlate that information, and visualize it for you in a unified place. Then we're going to talk about orchestration. Orchestration is our no-to-low-code drag-and-drop automation engine. So if you're familiar with SOAR, Security Orchestration Automated Response, we kind of have a built-in SOAR in Securex. And then lastly, we have Device Insights. I mentioned it's a new feature we just launched. So we're going to talk about what Device Insights is, how it can help. But just a quick overview, Device Insights is a holistic asset inventory. So you're able to see a whole list of your assets from all the sources you have in one place. All right, so now we're going to get into some opinions. So don't hold Cisco to these opinions. These are my personal opinions. But we'll talk about it. We'll have a good conversation. And I heard you guys might heckle me too, so I'm ready to be heckled.
We have opinions too.
Yeah. So here's an opinion. Security incidents don't matter. I don't think anybody has ever said this, and I don't think anybody here would agree with this. But some folks, they don't care about security until something happens, until they've had a breach and they had data loss. And then it's a huge deal, and now security is top of mind, but it's already too late. You have to focus on security before something happens. But then there's this problem here. Most security incidents don't matter, right? A lot of people can agree with that. The number of false positives that you find, the inundation of alerts that you have from your various tools, most of those don't really matter. Out of the 100 alerts you get a day, there's probably 2 or 3 that are actually critical, that have a potential impact for breach. And Securex can help surface those to you. So which ones do matter? Which of those 100 incidents, how do you find the 2 or 3 that actually do matter? Well, attacks involving critical assets and attacks that have potential significant impact. That's the way that you can determine if you have a high chance of potential breach. So how can you choose which assets are critical? Well, asset posturing. So we're getting into a little bit of device insights. How well is this target protected? Is there an endpoint security agent on there? Is there antivirus on there? Is the Windows firewall enabled? All these kind of things matter in terms of asset posturing. How critical is this asset to your business? Is it just a bring your own device, guest network, Windows machine? Who really cares about it? Is it your Active Directory server? That's obviously offering critical functionality. Is it one of your applications in your DMZ network? Those are the things that are critical, business critical applications. And then attack impact. What's the worst that's going to happen? If this does get breached, what's the impact? How bad is it really going to be? And that's how you can determine through device insights which assets out of your entire organization are critical. So security is hard, right? We've already talked about a lot of the problems, staff shortage, determining which is important, what's not important. Everybody knows security is hard. So how do we help simplify this? How can we make security easier for you folks? Well, we have simplified integration. Securex is all about integrations, third party and Cisco. Obviously, I think we have a dedicated engineering team who develops third party integrations. I believe they're up to 46 third party integrations. And like I mentioned earlier, we're all API first. So Securex is designed all APIs, engineering builds all the APIs, and we have a UI team come and put a UI on top of that. So any button that you click in Securex is actually just an API call. So you can do that through API, and you can build custom integrations. So if you have something that's not in that list of 46 third-party integrations we have, well, you can integrate it with Securex through API. And then simplified operations, streamlining operations, maintaining context, making things easier to find, deep link pivots. Those are the kind of things that streamline operations. So what's new? So we're going to talk a little bit how we prioritize incidents, what kind of incidents we get in Securex, where they come from, and how we have a score on those incidents, how we prioritize those incidents. We're going to go a little deeper into device insights. We'll talk about how it does what it does, the magic behind the scenes, the data merging. And then we'll talk about simplification, the new integration flows that we have. We call it the one-click integration flow. That's a nice marketing term. It's really like 3 or 4 clicks. And then we'll talk about Firewall 7.2. That's my part. I'm very excited about it.
Sorry, before we want, just real quick, I want to make sure I understand what is Securex? Are we talking? Is it
Securex is an XDR. It's an XDR.
XDR, okay.
Yeah. So a lot of people ask us, what's the difference between XDR and a SIM?
Yeah.
Well, we don't intend to be a data lake. We don't want to hold data and just store that and retain it and index logging and that kind of stuff. We don't really want to get in that industry. But we work well with SIM. So we have great integration with Splunk. We have great integration with QRadar. We're able to pull data from SIM. So we work well together with the SIM. But in terms of marketplace, yes, we align with XDR. So device insights, this is a feature of our XDR platform. So here's device insights. Here you can see this is what the actual UI looks like. This is where I'll have my asset inventory. I have the ability to filter on these assets based off of OS, operating systems that are out of date. I can even search for users, all type of information that I have in device insights that I can search for. And device insights is meant to consolidate and normalize your entire list of assets. So folks that are using different endpoint protections for their Windows, for their Macs, for iOS, there's a lot of different sources. And device insights is meant to normalize that and provide you a holistic view. And then beyond that, we also offer this asset information in investigation. So when conducting investigation in Securex, you're doing a threat hunting and incident response scenario, all of this asset information is surfaced in that integration or in that investigation. So here is where you can see this is kind of the old school method. This is the Excel spreadsheets of your MDM, Excel spreadsheets of your antivirus and your endpoint security. And now you have 3 or 4 different spreadsheets and you're wondering, is this asset really the same asset that I saw here? And you're trying to merge these Excel spreadsheets into one. That is very challenging. So here comes device insights. We have all of our data sources. So right now, I think we have all the Cisco sources, 6 of them. We have Duo, we have Umbrella, Secure Endpoint, Orbital, all in there. Cisco Secure Client, that's the new one coming out. And then we have third-party sources and device insights. We support Jamf, Intune, AirWatch. I believe one more that I'm missing right now. But either way, you get the point. It's all API friendly. We support third parties. And here we go. Once all of this data comes in, we generate asset records and we merge those into one so you can gain contextual awareness of your assets. So here's device insights in a nutshell. It's kind of meant, the main point is to create an active directory for endpoints by extracting asset data from various sources, and then we add that additional level of logic to do that data merging. So most of the Cisco products, Duo, Umbrella, they're all in there. Most popular MDMs, Jamf, Intune are all in there. And then we have the UI for filtering, and you can run custom filters. You can create reports out of device insights, and it's a great tool for people trying to keep track of their assets and find out deeper information from multiple sources. So what can I answer with device insights? What kind of questions can I get the answer to using device insights? What types of devices are connected to my network? Are they Windows? Are they iOS? Are they Android? Are they macOS? What users have been accessing those devices? Who's logged into this machine? When did they log into that machine? Where are the devices located? An actual geolocation. Are they in Raleigh, North Carolina? Are they in San Jose? Maybe they're in Bangalore, India, and they shouldn't be in Bangalore, India. Vulnerabilities associated with those devices. So this one has some caveats to it here. So vulnerabilities associated with the devices. If we say there's no vulnerabilities, that doesn't mean the device isn't vulnerable at all, right? There's no security professional here who's going to say they're 100% safe all the time. If we say there's no vulnerability, we mean there's no known vulnerability on this device, right? So you can never, that's part of security. It's the nature of security. You're never going to be 100% secure, but that's what gives me job security. What security agents are installed? Do you have antivirus on there? Do you have a secure endpoint technology on there? And are those softwares up to date? Are the security policies up to date? Are the signatures up to date? And what context do you have from the technologies beyond the endpoint? So things like Duo, we just had a session on Duo. What can you find out about layer 7 application protection? That data comes into the asset record. So how does Device Insights do it? We're getting into a little bit of the technical here. So how does it interact with all these different sources? There's a couple of methods. So full inventory sync, that's either done initially when you configure it, or once a day, we do a full inventory sync of your sources, and that'll pull in the latest information. Then after that, we have a delta sync. So as things are changing in your environment, assets get new IP addresses, DHCP is there, new users are logging into the machines. We can do a delta sync. So we pull what's new in the last couple hours and surface that in Device Insights, because obviously with the way devices and networks change, even data that's 2 or 3 hours old, that's kind of old. You really need to have the most recent information. And then webhooks. Webhooks are really great because products who support webhooks, Orbital, for example, they can actually notify Device Insights in real time of any changes happening to devices on the network. So here's the high-level architecture of Device Insights. These are the sources I mentioned, right? So we have our third party, we have our Cisco technologies, and we're using those same methods I mentioned, either a full sync, a periodic full sync once a day, we get the delta, or we create a webhook and we get notified. And then here we do data processing, the correlation, and the retention. I believe data in Device Insights is stored for 90 days. And I haven't even mentioned this. Securex is no cost. So Securex is not a license. It's not a SKU. Customers don't have to buy it. And that's kind of what's so attractive about Securex. As long as you own a Cisco security product, any Cisco secure product, Firewall, Umbrella, Secure Endpoint, email, you name it, you are entitled to use Securex at no additional cost. So that is why we say Securex is a no-cost add-on. It's adding additional value to your existing stack.
So I've got a question here about the APIs that you're talking about.
Sure.
Those integrations, obviously via REST, is that something plug and play from Securex? Do I go into Securex and say, I want to integrate in this product, and you click a button and it happens? Or do I have to have some middleware? What makes that integration happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're actually going to talk about it in a little bit, but I'll give you a good answer. So most of the integrations are bring your own API key. So it's just to bring your own API key, plug an API key, click save, you got a module. But we've actually simplified that because we found from customers copying and pasting API keys is kind of complicated for customers.
Don't want to do that. Just
Right.
give me a button that says.
So yeah, right. A lot of the integrations were following the bring your own API model, and now we're going to talk about here in a little bit our new integration flow, the one-click integration flow. That's actually 5 clicks, but it's easier. There's no more copying and pasting. You just click a button, click enable, and you'll be able to integrate. And then you asked about middleware as well. So if you do have some third-party product, which is not in that list of 46 integrations, you can deploy a relay module, we call it, and that would act as a middleware.
Okay.
We have docs on that on GitHub, templates, and how to do that. And then, of course, customers who don't want to do it, we have Cisco Professional Services. You get Cisco, they'll do it for you. We know the APIs. Another saying we have in Cisco, we learn the APIs so our customers don't have to. So yeah, we'll talk more about the integration flow and how to do the integrations in a little bit.
Is this running on an appliance? Is it in the cloud? How do?
This is all in the cloud.
Oh,
Securex is all in the cloud. However, we do have good on-prem connectivity. So we have a virtual machine you can deploy through vCenter, and that will proxy API calls to on-premise devices. And then for Cisco devices, we have something called Security Services Exchange. And that's a small 1.2 meg binary that is embedded in Cisco on-premise devices, ICE, StealthWatch, ESA, WSA, and that allows secure connectivity to the cloud from on-prem. And we'll talk about that when we get to Firewall. So here are the attributes. We call these are the attributes that we can trust to do the data merging. They're authoritative attributes of a device that will validate actually merging assets from different sources based off these attributes. So hardware ID, serial number, IMEI, hostname, MAC address, these are the characteristics that we can merge an asset on. So here's an example of data merging. So here I am from Duo. We just saw a session on Duo. So here's someone, a user who's logged into an application. And here is the data that I get from Duo API. So look, I have a device identifier. This is specific to Duo. This is a GUID specific to Duo. Here I am, Cisco Secure Connector. And I have a connector GUID, right? This is a GUID here. And that's different from the Duo GUID over here. And these are really the same endpoint, right? But if I were to look in each of these consoles, I don't really have a certain way of telling that these are the same device. In come device insights. So with this data, with this GUID, we send it to device insights, we process the data, we correlate it, we make a determination on if these are in fact the same asset, and we will merge the asset records together.
So question on that. Let's say that you've got a customer that's doesn't understand how to do computer imaging, and they've got a bunch of computers that are all imaged with the same Windows GUID. Does it still create unique ones for your tools to where you can actually merge them? Or is that common flaw in certain corporate imaging schemes? Will that come to fruit and you'll end up having
This is a great question.
70 devices all merged into one?
Yeah, so this is a great question because I ran into this issue myself, right? In VMware, you have a template of Windows and you just deploy the template and then you end up with 20 Windows machines that all have the same GUID.
Yep.
So when you run into that kind of scenario, it will not merge those assets together, right? It will basically decide whatever GUID you have, we have so many of those, the logic knows we can no longer use that as an authoritative identifier for these assets.
Gotcha.
So
Cool.
that's the magic, right? We have that logic built in.
Because that's always difficult for some of my customers to figure out that they've done until they notice that the data for widget A starts changing over time between, well, why is this so-and-so's computer? Now it's so-and-so's computer. No, yesterday it's that's, and, it gets confusing real fast. So that's good that there's some logic built in there to at least make it look wrong so that it's flagged.
Yes.
Well, what does it use if it can't use the GUID then?
We'll fall back to one of the other authoritative.
Okay.
Well, right. So if you can't use a particular GUID, we'll fall back to one of these to merge an asset. And then obviously, if there's nothing to merge an asset, you just end up with separate assets.
Kind of on a flip side, are you able to do something similar with users?
Great question. So we do have user data in Device Insights. We get the user data from each of the individual products. Now, coming in the future, we're going to have something called User Insights. And User Insights will be specifically about users. We're hoping to integrate with ICE, right, Active Directory, the kind of things you can get, Microsoft SCCM, you can get good user information from. So we do have plans to offer a User Insights type functionality within Device Insights. Right, like I said, we just launched in February. So as we mature, we'll be providing more and more user information in the same tool.
Actually, I guess maybe to build on that a little bit, as you're going through this, one of the use cases that's been problematic for me in the past was like a VDI environment where, every night a user's getting a new machine and the host names are getting reused. It's coming from a pool, so it's duplicate IPs or duplicate IDs. The IP, like it's all sorts of a mess. So trying to track something from day to day is a nightmare.
Mm-hmm. So you mean
Well,
you're spinning up new machines and
Yeah.
reusing host names?
Yeah, so it's just a pool of VMs, and every person logs off, their VM is deleted, and then there's just a new VM that's created. Somebody logs in, and they get assigned one of those VMs. So it's a brand new. Every time that somebody's logging in, they're getting a brand new VM, and then it's just here's a pool of 100 names for this whatever user group. But then we run into something where, hey, somebody had a problem last Tuesday. What VM were they on? What was their IP? All I have now is I've got a user's name that had a problem, but trying to track that back to, well, what machine did they have back then? I'm trying to go back through logs to find
Sure. So I think if I understood what you're saying, you want to have historical data.
historical data tied to a user independent of a device.
Okay, sure. So this is a good question, which we had in the launch of Device Insights. That historical data conversation came up, and retaining that level of historical information was a huge overhead for Cisco to maintain that database and be able to offer Device Insights at no cost. So we do offer 90-day retention. So if you need beyond 90-day retention, you can get it with Device Insights now as a part of free Device Insights, no cost add-on. I don't want to say free. But the historical thing is in the conversation. We want to be able to have that historical data because that's very critical. Being able to go back in time, where was this user last week? That's going to be really important. And maybe in the future, if we look at making that database and infrastructure of Cisco Cloud, we'll be able to offer a longer retention with more history. But right now, like I said, you get the 90-day history, which is sufficient for most use cases, but obviously not all of them.
So now he just touched something else that I was trying to avoid asking, but so you said that this is for free.
I should have said free.
Well, okay, this is no cost. Either way, same idea.
Yeah.
Does that then imply that there are additional, hey, you want to do this thing? Well, you've got to add on this license. And is there so it sounds like then there's a limit to how far free, no cost, whatever gets you. And then these are like the premium features.
So I can tell you right now, at this moment, in this second, everything is no cost. 10
about
minutes
this
from
second?
now, you can ask me again. I might give you a different answer.
Yeah.
Things in Cisco change on a dime. So right now, everything in Securex, all features, orchestration, investigation, it's all no cost. Ask me 10 minutes from now, I might give a different answer. Okay, so here are the sources. I mentioned all these sources, right? These are the Cisco ones. And then here are, I missed MobileIron as the third-party source that we have right now in phase 1. And then you can look and see what of those authoritative attributes do each of these provide. So Cisco Meraki Systems Manager, that's our MDM. It integrates very strongly, right? You can see a lot of the authoritative attributes in Meraki Systems Manager. And then we integrate with all of these as well. The Duo Health Agent, Duo provides a lot of data. We just saw the Duo session earlier. So high priority incidents. Which incidents do matter, right? Now we just talked about how to find your critical assets, which assets matter in Device Insights. But what about the impact, the potential level of breach on these alerts that you get from your tools? So we have, inside of Securex Threat Response, we have something called an incident manager. So this is where you will get incidents from all of your tools. Now there's a distinction between incidents and alerts. Alerts are just alerts, right? You get alerts all the time, people pinging you all the time, messages from your devices all the time. Incidents are things that you should look at, right? They are an aggregated information of data from multiple places. So in the Securex Threat Response Incident Manager, we'll get alerts from Secure Network Analytics, Secure Endpoint, Firewall, Cohesity, Cybervision, all type of sources, right? They're all providing incidents in here. Now you can see I have a high impact incident from Secure Endpoint, and I have a critical incident from Secure Endpoint, and these are surfaced in the high impact section. And anything that I deem as high or critical, they will get automatically investigated. So when I say investigated, you see the checkbox that says enriched. What that enrichment does is it goes to all of my integrations. So it goes to my Cisco tools, my third-party tools, my intelligence sources, Talos, VirusTotal, Alien Vault, and I aggregate all that data and I get automatically enriched, and that incident is here, and I can view that enrichment data and make a determination on whether I need to take an action or I need to reimage this device. What do I need to do next? we put you in a position where you're going from 0 to 100, we already got you to maybe 60, and you can take the rest of the 40. So that's the power of the incident manager. So this is actually new. Secure Endpoint just recently started providing incidents to Securex a couple months ago, and that's when we introduced this auto enrichment feature, the automated investigation that we call it. That's a rather new feature, but it's very powerful. We've gotten a lot of great feedback from customers on the high impact incidents. Yep, so you can see there's my high impact. So how do you decide, right? A lot of the decision making right now is human based, right? You have to make a risk assessment yourself, manually make a determination, what observables, IPs, endpoints, how do we decide? Well, we do have some built-in logic in terms of promoting incidents in Securex. So you can choose from your firewall, maybe I want only impact red. Those are the most critical. Those are the ones that I want to see. Or maybe you want only incidents that have a poor IP reputation from Talos. So you can choose that as well. And then in the individual technologies like Secure Endpoint, Umbrella, Network Analytics, you have the ability to customize and choose which alerts become incidents in Securex. So you have that full customization configuration capability to make sure only the important things are surfaced in the incident manager. So moving on. So here, yeah, here's what an incident looks like. So this is a secure endpoint incident. This is our view in the incident manager. You can see my targets here, right? So I mentioned a difference between an alert and an incident, right? So this is actually 602 alerts from secure endpoint that was surfaced as a single incident for me. So rather than looking at my inbox with 602 events, I can now look at this single incident. I can see the endpoints involved. I can see the observables involved. And I get to see a list of indicators involved in this, and this will be automatically investigated as a part of the auto enrichment feature. And then along with this, right, you have to be able to do something. You can't just have information. What are you going to do about it, right? We offer one-click response actions. So at the click of a button, you can click this endpoint. Maybe you want to isolate it, take it off the network. Maybe you wanted to block this file hash. You have the ability to one-click and block the file hash. So that remediation capability, the R in XDR, is very strong in Securex with the one-click options.
Question on response actions. I'm assuming that it's not Securex taking the action. It has to reach out to a firewall or some other endpoint.
Well, it is Securex taking the actions, but we execute those actions through API. So say I wanted to do a block on firewall, I can click a button in Securex, and it'll block in firewall.
Right, the firewall doing the remediation is just launched from Securex.
Yes, yes. We offer the set of options from Securex, but the action is taken at the point of entry, wherever it is. And actually, as a part of the one-click response actions, we have built-in response actions just by default in Securex. And then you can actually create custom ones, right? Because some customers want to block on CrowdStrike, or they want to block on something else, or they want to open a ServiceNow ticket, for example. You have the ability to create custom actions and then take those at one click.
Is there a way to do kind of if this, then that?
Yes,
actions?
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
We're going to talk about it in orchestration. You can build a workflow. We have like 65 pre-built workflows, but it's exactly that, right? Take an action, get the response, have some logic. If this, then do that. Get the response. If it was this, then we'll do that. If it wasn't this, we'll do that. And you can build that logic out. No cost, right? Pretty good. Pretty good for no cost.
Second.
Yeah, let me retweet that again.
So with that, then with the logic, I would presume that, hey, we've detected that this is a bad ID or a bad IP. We want to block it.
Mm-hmm.
I could have orchestration that if we had integration to, you get your firepower, you've got your checkpoints and your Palos and your whatever, you've got all your different devices. If we've got the integration into each one of those, then I could just say, block this IP and it would go to every single different platform.
Yeah, totally. You guys should have come to my Cisco live session yesterday. So I talked about exactly
in
that.
this room yesterday.
Oh.
Why weren't you here yesterday?
Well, I talked about exactly. Well, I was presenting somewhere else, but I talked about exactly this: that automated remediation. So actually, we have a built-in approval task because a lot of customers are finicky. They're a little hesitant with automated remediation. So we have a workflow that will basically pull those high-impact incidents, and it'll notify you in WebEx, Teams, Slack, whatever, and it'll say, "Hey, we found these 3 endpoints. This is what happened. Do you want to take these actions?" You click on approve, all the actions get taken. You can block in AMP, you can block in Firewall, you can block on Duo, we can block a user in Duo, and all of that happens automatically. And then it'll notify you, hey, we took all these actions. So you can do that fully with our automation engine.
You happen to know the session name?
Yeah, it was mine. BreakSec 2201.
2201?
Yeah, it was a session on Securex and Firewall, and I demoed a workflow that did exactly what you were talking about. Yeah, it's recorded, so you can check it out. I hope you do, because it's pretty cool.
So once an action is taken, does Securex then get updated so you could go back into the screen and be like, yes, that client was kicked off the network? Or
Yeah, so if I isolate a host and then I try and isolate it again, it'll say stop isolation. So I do have the option to like revert. If I wanted to revert an action, I could revert, and it does show that this host is already isolated.
Okay.
Obviously, those custom actions that you build in orchestration, you would have to build in a logic that would allow you to reverse it. But the built-in ones that just come with Securex, those have the ability to go back and forth.
And can you also tie into like ticketing system? Because I presume if you kick a client off the network, the end user is going to be like, why can't I get on the network? They're going to raise a trouble ticket, and then a sysadmin is going to have to be like, I don't know why you're not on the network.
Yeah, so we have like the built-in action is just going to isolate the host, but we have one of the custom ones that's already pre-built. And what it will do is it will request an approval to isolate a host and open a ServiceNow ticket. So yeah, ITSM is huge, right? People who are using ServiceNow are always gung-ho on ServiceNow, right? They pay a lot of money for ServiceNow. They want to use it. So we make sure we can integrate. We actually have a great integration with ServiceNow, bi-directional. We can pull data, we can send data. So ServiceNow is a big one.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Integrations. So here we are. This is the copying and pasting of API keys. So this is the old flow. And you can see specifically Umbrella is one of those modules where you have to paste in, I think, like 6 API keys: reporting, management, network device, or investigate API token, enforcement API token. And it was a lot for customers to be able to find all these API keys, paste them in. And all this time, we thought this was so simple. I'm looking at this like, dude, just paste the API keys in. But we got feedback. This is kind of complicated. We want it to be easier. And then the other thing is these older style modules are single direction, meaning Umbrella, we have Umbrella API key and we can interact with Umbrella from Securex, but Umbrella doesn't have a Securex API key, right? So the communication is unidirectional. So now using the one-click flow, which is really more than like 5 clicks, but we just have an enable button. So when you click this enable button, it's going to ask you to log into Secure Cloud Analytics, sign in with Securex sign-on, and bam, that's it. You're integrated. There's no more copying and pasting of API keys. It automatically adds the module, and you're fully integrated. You get all the capabilities of Secure Cloud Analytics, and that's going to be bi-directional now. You're going to have Securex will have API keys for the end product. The end product will have Securex API keys, so you have this bi-directional communication, which has opened up new features like the high priority incidents. Okay, so Securex Orchestration and Firewall Integration. So this is what my session was on. I did a whole 45 minutes on it. We're going to do it in 5 minutes now. So I think you were asking about the logic, if this, then that. So this is our automation engine, Securex Orchestration, no to low code, drag and drop. I'll be the first guy to tell you I am a novice programmer. I am not the guy writing Python scripts and all this and that. But using Securex Orchestration, like I said, Cisco learns all the APIs for you. So we make it very easy, drag and drop, or no code, which is what I prefer, just import and run. That's what I prefer, no code. So these are our value pillars: investigate, automate, integrate, and scale for orchestration. And if you remember, where does orchestration fall in our 3 overall value pillars? It falls under efficiency. So like I said, most customers have some niche business problem, right? Cisco can solve problems for 1,000 customers, but you're going to have something that only matters to you. It's a problem you have in your environment, and it's a niche problem. So what do? You write a Python script, you make an AWS Lambda function, you do some custom stuff, and you make it work. But then it gets complicated. It's like you have attrition, and the guy who made it is gone. And you're wondering, oh, well, how did it work before? Or it's unreliable. Where do I host my code? All these questions come into play. So in comes Securex Orchestration. You can combine 9 tasks and 3 security tools, 2 infrastructure teams, systems, 3 teams, and 1 keystroke. So that is 365-day, 24/7 cloud-based automation, and that is a great tool to maximize your efficiency. So here's what it looks like This is that if-then logic. So I'll start my workflow, I'll invoke on some type of API, I'll get the response. I can have some logic here, do my next step, get the response, introduce some logic, do my next step. And then over here, you can see what the real UI looks like. That's the workflow canvas. And all of these boxes here are drag and drop, right? So we have actions you can drag and drop, or you can create your own custom actions for whatever API you like. So coming new in Securex Firewall, our secure firewall, we have the new one-click integration flow, right? So you click on enable Securex, sign into Securex with Securex sign on, and then that's it. Your devices are onboarded to Securex, and you're ready to use this, all the features and functionality. Now I want to highlight this button here. So this is a new feature in 7.2, allowing orchestration to operate with an on-prem firewall natively. So Cisco, I mentioned, has that small connector that connects to our cloud, and we have bidirectional communication to an on-prem device. That opens up limitless automation opportunities for Cisco Secure Firewall and other on-premise products to create those workflows and niche use cases that you want. And along with this feature, we launched 4 new workflows for Firewall, so you can check those out. They're in my session. I demoed them. So
You showed off a lot of the communications with some of the other Cisco products. Didn't see Meraki mentioned anywhere in here, but I'm assuming API wise it's
Yeah.
back and forth, but
Yeah.
there's no native integration there.
Not yet. So it's actually in development. We're working on Meraki integration right now. But over here, I said the drag and drop options.
Yeah.
We have a whole slew of drag and drop options for Meraki. You can add policy, delete rules, add IPs to objects. All the Meraki APIs available here, and we have many drag and drop options. So Meraki is a huge interest. So as a BU, we are driving towards a stronger native Meraki integration.
Bringing in things like physical security, then again on the whole IFT group, right? If the weather's turning bad, make sure the batteries are at full power, or from a security perspective, if you see if you use a Meraki Vision, camera, and you see someone's broken through a fence, then lock down the network, things like that. What level of integration really can you do in here? Because if it's REST, it's yes, right? Or what?
Yeah, if REST, then yes.
There's an API that you can do all these different things in. Like what further down the road are you looking at other than just the normal traditional, network issue. How do you start to integrate the physical world into that?
So it's a little bit tough with being in the cloud and physical security is on the ground. But we introduced something called webhooks in orchestration. So if your camera detects a motion, like your Ring alert, right, you can actually get Ring to send a webhook. So when you get a motion alert on your Ring camera at home, I have this set up actually, it'll send a webhook notification, and then I can take action on that, right? So I got a webhook notification, there was motion here. Maybe I want to turn on more cameras or where they were going, or turn on the lights or something.
Or enable the Wi-Fi or shut down the Wi-Fi.
Sure, so you can do that. Webhook is a great way to trigger a workflow. It's real time, so you can do that here. So this is the firewall integration. We send events to the cloud. You can do investigations. And then the new feature that I mentioned is this ability here to now execute API calls to your FMC from the cloud. So what this does is it really modernizes the firewall deployment. Firewall has been around for ages. It's really nothing new and fancy about it. They call it next generation firewall, but that was like 2 generations ago. But now we've really modernized the firewall deployment. By bringing the APIs to the cloud, we've allowed you to customize and operate your firewall in new and innovative ways from the cloud. So here's how that works, just quickly. So we can make an API call. So that workflow I showed you guys, I send that here to SSE in the cloud, and that goes directly to FMC and back. So this is all behind the scenes. Customers are never going to see this. They're just going to make an API call. Even that, they can just import a workflow, and it'll do it for them. And it'll just go to FMC and come back. All native. Customers are never going to see this. All behind the curtains. So that is the magic of the secure firewall integration. Yep, so we also have the Orchestration Remote. That's that VM I mentioned to proxy API calls. So if you have other on-premise products, third-party on-premise products, you can use the remote. Obviously, it requires you have an ESXi infrastructure or something to deploy it on, right? And the streamlined option is the built-in one that I just shared.
Got IPv6 supporting that?
Yeah, we support IPv6. Resources and conclusions, I'll just wrap it up here. The bottom line, we want to reduce mean time to remediation. We want to reduce dwell time. We want to surface what's the most likely breach and breach severity. So I'm able to visualize threats in my environment and take action in half the time it used to take with those one-click actions, the data aggregation. We're saving time and operationalizing maximum efficiency. So this is security solutions should empower people, right? It shouldn't be another tool that's complicated to use, right? Introducing Securex, I don't want it to seem like another tool in your tool belt and you have to learn how to use it. It's meant to work with your existing tools. It's meant to be an add-on to your existing tools, to streamline your investigations, to make your tools work together and reduce the burden on your security operations center. So here are some resources for you folks. If you want to learn more about Securex, my favorite is Securex_videos. I have a bunch of YouTube videos. You'll see my beautiful face on YouTube. You can check that link out.